Welcome to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Kim is a psychotherapist and executive director of ICU Talks, a mental health speaking ministry. This is a podcast about how to flip your lid and learning how to reconnect to who you really are.
All right, audience. Thank y'all for being a part of Flip Your Lid. I have a really special guest here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Andrew Bauman. Andrew is a co-founder and director of the Christian Counseling Center for Sexual Health and Trauma. He's a licensed mental health counselor with a Master of Arts in Counseling Psychology from the Seattle School of Theology and Psychology. Andrew's also the author of 5 books: The Sexually Healthy Man, Floating Away, Stumbling Towards Wholeness, The Psychology of Porn, and he wrote one with his wife, A Brave Lament. So y'all help me welcome Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much. What time is it in Seattle?
So I'm actually on the East Coast, so I'm with you.
Oh,
yes.
This is awesome. That's great.
We split time between Seattle and North Carolina, so we're here currently.
Yeah, well, that is fantastic. Thank you for choosing to be a part of this. And I'm just going to jump in there and ask you what we ask all our guests to start with. And that is just so curious. What life events, what experience flipped your lid? And tell me a little bit about the measures you had to take to reconnect to who God says you are.
Well, that may take our whole time.
That's it. I'm out. All right.
That's right. That's right. I think for me, as I look back on my story, I think it starts around when I 7, 8, and I started developing some mental health issues at that time, OCD, some depression at age 8. I started realizing much later that my parents' marriage is crumbling at this time, that my mom is going numb, my father is addicted, betraying my mom, cheating on my mom, having a secret life, as he's also a pastor and vice president of a Christian college. And so I think, being a sensitive little boy, I began to internalize all that trauma in my body, all that was going on in my home that was unspoken. And so eventually, by age 8, my parents split up, and my mom moves myself and my 2 siblings to North Carolina to get away, to be safe. And that was kind of the beginning of bearing depression as an 8-year-old. My parents not being able to language, being a part of this Christian community that everything was always great. And then when something wasn't great, they had no language to articulate what was going on. We just kept going to church 10 times a week and acted like everything was fine. And yet my body told me something different. My body said stuff wasn't fine.
Yeah.
That trauma was happening, that my world was destroyed.
Right.
And so that was the beginning of kind of the destruction of my world. And then how was I rescued from that? How was I, and this is going to sound like an odd answer, but I think porn actually rescued me.
100% understand that.
Yes. Porn began, I then hit adolescence, right, when the internet becomes a thing. And I begin to, since no one's talking about anything in my family, I begin to self-soothe. I begin to find something that will soothe me. And the beauty of a woman became the closest thing to God that I could bear, that I could have. And so I found a cheap substitute of God, and it began to at least help me survive. And then, maybe later we'll talk about that started in porn, began to kill me. And then it almost destroyed my life. But in a sense, early on, when I had no language, when my parents weren't able to be there to articulate, when my church was not able to articulate the heartache and the trauma that I had, and I felt so lost, I was so glad that I survived. And that was the beginning. Then so 13 years of addiction to pornography, objectifying, harming women. And then about 13 years ago, I ended up in a psychiatric ward, and that, nearly killing myself. And that was the beginning for me of losing everything, literally being stripped naked in a padded room, just like the movies, and basically like starting over. And I read this quote literally in the psych ward. Let's see if I can even remember it. I haven't quoted it in a while. Something about the fact of God, don't seek what makes you come alive. Find out what the world needs, and do that, basically, right? I just butchered the quote, but again, that's not the point. Basically, beginning to find out what makes me come alive, because that's what the world needs. That's what I'm meant to do. That's my calling. Right. And so literally putting the pieces back together, beginning to try to hope again, having the courage to hope after being stripped, literally naked. And so that was kind of the beginning. I think maybe 15 years ago, was beginning to put those pieces back together after I flunked out of college, and then kind of went back into college and got my degree and started saying, I want to help people. I want to actually use my story, use this big pain, use how I've harmed others to actually help similar violent men who are used to using objectifying women to find wholeness and health. And so that was the beginning of my story, and how God continues to use my story.
Yeah, we have mutual friends, Brendan and Nicole Berry, right? And they have wanted us to meet for years. And now that I know your story, I know why. You're a therapist's dream, right? Right? Like they're the me. And you're a therapist too, so like we both have some similar stories that, but when someone walks into your door, your office with that story, you're like, I got a lifer. Like this is someone, right, that really just deserves to get better and ready for healing. And I love your articulation of all of that, and just even that your new beginning is just like in Garden of Eden. I mean, it's the nudity, all right? It's getting rid of all that shame and all the things that lead to all of our behavior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What a wonderful rebirth.
And that's the point. And I want your listeners to understand, like, much of my harm wasn't necessarily the trauma that I suffered, whether it's my sexual abuse, the destruction of my parents' marriage. My harm was what I did with the harm. Like my decision to, soothe in the way that I did actually was much more complex and harder for me to undo than the trauma itself. Right.
But with the trauma, that type of rupture without repair, like we have to put behavior in there, right?
Yes.
I don't know what you would have done differently.
Right. Exactly. We just try to survive. And that's where the kindness can come in to my self-contempt or to my shame, is I can actually begin to bless that little boy that he did the best he could with what he was given.
Yeah. And in your therapeutic quest, like, who do you think you were before you lost that innocence?
That's a great question. I probably need to sit with that for a second.
Yeah.
When I think of little me, and I remember doing this about a decade ago when I was diving into a new story that I had written about my younger self. And I remember smiling over him. And remember my heart just releasing contempt, because I struggled with self-contempt for a long time, because beating myself up for the sins that I've committed, the harm that I've perpetrated, the women that I've harmed. And yet, when I was able to sit with that little boy, when I was able to hold him and just kiss him and love him and embody God's love for him, that self-contempt just faded away, because that little boy was good. That little boy tried the best he could with what he had, and he was not given very many tools to navigate the complexities of trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, that type of deep work and the reparenting and the bringing God's love to our woundedness is such a beautiful way to unburden our pain.
Yes.
And it's easier for a woman, not just easy for any of us, easier for a woman to go into that modality than it is for a man. Yes. Will you speak into that? What was like as a man to do that type of work?
Yeah, I think what that is about, and I talk a little bit about it in my new book, The Sexually Healthy Man, there's a sense where women become more innately connected to their body. Men, I feel like, how do we become embodied? It's like only when we get hurt do we kind of become aware of our body. And so I think we do life more disconnected. We have less intimate relationships. And so I think for me, being more sensitive, being more in tune, and then being forced, for me to survive, I had to become in touch with my body. I had to become in touch with my gut, where God lives, right? God is in our bodies. It's not pop psychology. I am an image bearer of God. And so I bear God's image, and therefore God is in me. And I can connect with God through connecting with my gut.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. Even, and again, there are a lot of same equalization things that are happening now with gender, but overall, like men, you're taught if you break your arm and you stay in the football game, you're more of a man.
Oh, the socialization of masculinity is so evil. Is so gross. And I work a lot with domestic violence and that whole thing. And we are so taught completely wrong about what masculinity is. And it turns violence. And somehow violence equates to strength. That we're somehow more of a man if we're more violent. And it's so gross because violence comes out of insecurity, not strength.
Right. Yeah. And just even that, and I'm sure your book, The Sexually Healthy Man, addresses that. Do you have a definition for masculinity that you would like to put out there?
I would have to sit with it for a while. That's a great question. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is this kind of secure strength and tenderness. Right? There's this balance of both, and it comes out of this deep security. When I know who I am, I can live out of that, right? I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be insecure. But yet out of our insecurities, out of our unhealed wounds, we project onto so many things, so many people, onto our partners. And we project these things that are so damaging. And really comes out of this deep unhealed place where I'm a little boy and I'm so scared of being exposed. And normally our intimate partners, our marriage partners normally are the ones who expose us the most because they know us the most.
Right.
And so therefore, if you are potentially going to expose me, you are going to become my main target.
Yeah, that's so well put and so true. So the person that you're craving for that connection, and a lot of times there's a broken childhood connection, there's not secure connection. The person that can connect to you the most becomes your threat. Yes,
exactly. Because one of our greatest threats of a narcissistic man is that exposure. Right. You're going to show the world who I really am. And with so many of the narcissistic pastors that I work with as well, it's just like, that's part of the whole shtick is I look great in front of the world, and yet behind closed doors, I'm a scared little boy.
Yeah, that's right. And that really is what's the core of narcissism, is a scared little girl or scared little boy. There's some, grandiose insecurity that comes out as grandiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So how have you figured, if I'm allowed to ask, is your dad narcissistic? Is that where? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He was. He was. He passed away this past year, and his shame and his self-hatred ultimately killed him. So it led into addiction and basically ravaged his life through sex addiction and drug addiction. And that's what came out of my book, Floating Away, was basically, it's a kid's book, and it's basically, how do we talk to our kids about addiction issues with our parents? Right. Because I was a little kid with a parent who had addiction issues, and nobody told me anything. Right. And I had to try to figure it out on my own, which led to this deep insecurity in myself of like, where, rather than like, can we just root our kids and again, age appropriately, but just talking about real life. Yeah. Because kids see us better than we see ourselves.
Right. Well, even the idea of like, when you tell a child that they are, the best at soccer, or they're the best tennis player, and a lot of times internally they know they're not the best. They can see the competition around them, right? Yeah. And then they have this tension, they have this difficulty of like, who am I really? Right. And then
Exactly.
that creates conflict and trauma within.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Said.
yeah. And your statement about, that pornography, your addiction to pornography saved your life. Like, I'm a recovered alcoholic and it almost killed me, but it gave me reason to live first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very paradoxical, very much.
Yeah. And addiction all comes out of that same place, right? That need to escape, that need to run away from what is real.
Yeah. Yeah. And, without a sense of self, then destruction comes.
Exactly.
Right. What was your bottom with the pornography? Because again, talk a little bit about the psychology of porn, because that is another thing that men are told is okay to do and be a part of, and then it's also a place of addiction.
Yeah, I think as I started acting out, and I ended up going to 5 different colleges, kind of flunking out of college, and living in the woods, and I was kind of just going broke. As I realized more and more, like, I can't have real relationship. Yeah. And so 15 years ago, whenever I meet my wife, girlfriend at the time, and she's going to get her master's in counseling, and I'm like, geez, this woman is a real woman. And it scared me because I was like, dang, like, if I'm going to be with her, I got to be a real man. And I know I'm a scared little boy. Right. And so then I started just like kind of going back to my normal acting out patterns, and like, wait, like, this isn't working. Like, I can't be in a relationship with this woman. It's not working. So then I just kind of, broke up with her, started dating other girls. And I'm sitting in, this is in grad school, 12 years ago, first year of grad school. And I'm sitting in Dan Allender's marriage and family class. And he's starting talking about marriage. And Christy and I, my wife, we hadn't talked in 10 months at this point. I'd broken up with her. I was dating another girl. She was, beautiful, hilarious, smart, everything's great. And I'm sitting there listening to Dan talk about marriage. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't even love this girl that I'm with. I love Christy. And yet, what am I? And I just had this real crisis of my style of relating, which was seductive. And I call it, in my book, Psychology of Porn, I call it a pornographic style of relating. Basically, porn taught me how to relate to my world pornographically. So I dated pornographically. I just kept going from girl to girl to girl, right? Just like click, click, click. Right? You don't learn how to have genuine intimacy. You learn how to have a selfish intimacy. Right. And so as I'm, dating this girl, and then I'm listening to Dr. Allender talk about authentic marriage, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why can't I be with a woman that I actually love and face all my insecurities and face like, what am I doing? The seductive style of relating, the pornographic style of relating that I had. And so that was the beginning, however long ago that was, 13 years ago, to really begin to start picking up the pieces and actually try to have a real relationship. And I'm thankful that we've been married 11 years and really started, it changed my life. She's got to be like an exceptional, resilient woman if she hangs out with you and holds her own, right? Like she has to have the gift of tolerance and love and all these things, right? I'm an Enneagram 8, and I'm a challenger, and so I need a strong woman to be able to take me on and calm me out, and so I knew I had to get my stuff together real quick.
Yeah. So listen, I'm an Enneagram 8, and everyone's always like, that's a bad number. I'm like, no, that's the best number. You don't understand.
That's right.
I don't want to be any other number. Like, this is a good place, right?
We're the prophets. We got to speak.
We're the prophets. We're the aggressive ones.
That's right.
Right. So
that's right. We got to speak truth to power. So it works
that's right.
well.
We don't even know we're being blunt. We just open our mouths.
Right. And it works great for me to, my whole practice is built on working with narcissistic men, and so it works great for me. But
I just got to say this to anybody's listening, that, and I'm not just making about men, but he's saying that's who he works with. Right. If you have that gifting, you have done exceptional work, because just the idea for most of us therapists to work with anyone who has what's considered, for lack of a better term, personality disorder, that's the clinical term, most of us run from that.
Right.
Because it's hard to feel safe and not have our own personal issues come into the room, and that it's ineffective therapy. And so you have had to done incredible
Yes.
depth of work to be able to sit with narcissistic men and let it
Yes.
be about them.
Yes, exactly. And I think part of that is because I'm a recovering narcissist myself. I
Right.
kind of like it, right? I like
Yeah.
the challenge. I like
Yeah.
the fight, right? I'm a fighter. I love
Right.
fighting. And so
Right.
it's like I love taking people on.
Yeah.
My wife is a too. She's a helper. You know, she cries with every client, and I'm like sitting there cussing and fighting with people. You know,
Amen.
so it's like,
Amen.
and we're both
Like, what's
do
there
it
to
so
cry
differently.
about? Why are we crying? What's that?
There you go. We both do it so differently, and yet when we work together, we counsel marriages, and yet when we work together, it's this beautiful team of tenderness and truth, and it works out well.
Yeah. Well, we got to talk about your term, recovering narcissist, because most people think that is paradoxical, oxymoronic, impossible to happen. In my over 20 years of private practice, I've had one man who made incredible strides. And then I have a guy currently I'm working with his wife, and he has he looks different. He walks differently. I've never seen a true narcissist make this transformation, and it gave me hope. But most of us don't believe that there's a such thing as recovering narcissists. So please tell me more about that.
Yes, and so that's a safe bet because most of them don't change.
Right.
So that's actually mostly true.
Yeah.
And yet I've seen it time and time again, but it only comes through suffering. It only comes through heartache. And so, so many times they've lost their kids, they've lost their family, they lost their marriage. They've alienated everyone in their life. They've gotten fired from their high-profile job, and it's only after they've suffered enough that suffering forces them to begin to taste a little bit humility, and that creates a crack for you to then begin to really dive into the story of how narcissism has served them and yet isolated them. But it can happen, but it is rare.
So it has to be severe consequences. So there's three things you're supposed to look at for a sign of hope if you have a narcissistic person in your life. One, the person recognizes that what they are doing is a problem.
Yeah.
They see the negative effect on the other person involved and sincerely want to change that behavior, and they actively do the hard work to change the problem behavior. You need to be able to see all three of those if you are someone who is deciding not to re-engage with a narcissist.
Right. And so some advice for the partner of a narcissist, like words don't matter anymore. Right. So it's like, because they're always super gifted with their words, super articulate with their words, and they win you back. But it's like only life change, because suffering produces life change. If you truly want to be a good steward of your pain, it changes how you live. It changes how you engage.
Right.
And so no longer words don't matter. It's literally just life lived. And that's normally years of recovery. As far as for a damaged marriage, it takes years to begin to rebuild trust after narcissistic violence. Yeah,
it's so true. And so can we just segue into the pain that got you out of your narcissism? What broke you?
Yeah. Some good questions. I mean, so many things. I think what I mentioned before, kind of on the precipice of suicide, holding a gun in my hand. After 2 years earlier, I was student body president of my big high school. I was multi-star athlete or whatever. But it's just like I had went from this kind of kind of the top of my world to then naked in a room, stripped of everything. That began this humbling process. And then the more I leaned into blessing and kindness, right? Romans 2:4 says the kindness of God leads to repentance. And so the more I leaned into kindness is the more I freed myself up to really step into my calling.
Yeah.
The more I blessed my story, the more I blessed my pain. Not necessarily I suffered, but I can become more resilient because of this pain.
Yeah.
I can bear, I can help others.
Right. And somehow found safety in that, right? Because you covered up your sensitivity. And when you're an 8-year-old little boy, he's very sensitive. now traumatized, and you let that be revealed as vulnerable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And now that shapes everything I do. It shapes everything I write. I write from this place that's just, I do it for myself. I do it for my own sanity. Writing has been a place for me to make sense of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just so beautiful. And anybody listening who's done the work can really just appreciate what you're saying, because there's different layers of intimacy, and people who suffer with narcissism have the ability to be incredibly intimate, and it scares the shoo-shoo out of them.
Exactly.
Right, and you really face that. Yeah.
Because so many of us, we just trust so few people.
Yeah. It's hard to trust when your own dad's like just, he's the pastor, he's the vice president, right? And all of a sudden he's somebody else to you.
Exactly. Me now, the work that I do is so rooted in my story of trauma. Living in truth, living authentically. It's because I've suffered the pain of not by having a father who was too scared to.
Mm-hmm. One of your books is, out of your 2,500 books, one of your books is called Stumbling Towards Wholeness. And just that title makes me want to read it. And I'm pretty much anti-literacy, but just that title makes me want to read it, because that is my life. Like, don't tell me I got to walk. Don't tell me I got to do it gracefully. I'm going to, let me stumble.
Yes.
Yeah, make that okay in the church that I get to stumble.
Exactly. Yeah, that book took me about 3 years to write, and it's one of my favorite books. But basically the idea, the quick synopsis so you don't have to read it, Luke 15, Luke 15, basically the prodigal son, the classic story. We are each character of the story. And when we are the runaway son, we are filled with shame, self-hatred. When we are the elder brother, we're full of entitlement, and yet we are each character. We're full of judgment towards ourselves, and we kind of go in and out of each realm. And the goal is to be in the realm of the Father. And how do we begin to embody the Father realm, which is the realm of grief, the realm of celebration, the realm of blessing and kindness. Yeah. And so it goes through each realm, and then what we can get out of each of the characters, knowing that we are each of the characters in our healing journey.
Yeah, Andrew, that's so good, because just the idea of thinking about, the son that walked away and how he's hanging out with the pigs and he's in the mud. And to me, the mud's always been, that's the shame and the blame. That's the rejection that we just roll around in and don't think. That shame, blame, rejection, and that mud tells us we can't walk back towards the Father.
Exactly.
Right? And then the entitled son is got just as much shame and blame and rejection. Otherwise, he would have greeted his brother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And how much are we like the elder brother when we're trying to come home and we judge ourselves, when we say, no, I'm too, you're too dirty. You squandered too much.
Right. True. So true.
And so the point isn't for us to get in touch with our sin as much as it is to get in touch with our glory and our goodness.
Yeah. That's so good.
That's the hard work. The easy work is to name how bad we are. Right. The hard work is to actually invite ourselves home to the table, to put on the robe and the signet ring, the sandals, to actually celebrate wildly. Yeah. That's the hard work.
That is the hard work, because most of us believe the voices of shame must tell us we're not worthy to be at that table.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I argue. Then we are not embodying the Father. We are not stepping in to embody who God is. Yeah. If we can't invite ourselves home, whether we are judgmental, whether we are much more like the Pharisees, or if we are the classic runaway.
Yeah. Yeah. And just even think about the Enneagram of that and certain numbers, how they would hear that also differently. Just how the 9 doesn't want to come to the table because they want to be in the kitchen making sure everybody else is okay. How the 2 wants to be helped. Like, we all have our reasons what the enemy uses to tell us not to come to the table. And God's like,
exactly.
Forget everything.
Like your next book right there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know how you have time to write any books of everything you do, but I'm so glad you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you are.
Some good babysitting, so that helps.
Yeah. So you and I are such 8. We have managed to mention 4 out of 5 of your books because we are so skilled. All right. So let's talk about the 5th, which I actually left out a little bit because I know that is something that no parent wants to ever need to read, and it sounds like a beautiful place for parents with loss to read.
Yeah. So basically, 9 years ago, we lost our firstborn son.
I'm so sorry.
And it was 42 weeks. And so it was a cord accident. And we were going to go in, and our doctor went on vacation or something. So we had to push the appointment back a week later. And then when we went, he had a cord accident. And so it was our firstborn son. And so basically our entire soul felt like it was ripped out of us. I mean, the anticipation. I mean, it was like a king was coming home. I mean, we were just wildly ecstatic and just ripped, just something died in us both and just crumbled to the floor and just wailed. And we created a documentary. You can watch it for free on our website called A Brave Lament. And also the book was basically the first 4 months of my wife and I's grieving process. We pitched it to 29 different Christian publishing, and everybody denied it. Because they said it was too raw. It wasn't hopeful enough. Grief doesn't sell.
Wow.
And I was just like, no, you guys don't get it. I couldn't read a single one of your Christian grief books because I needed something bloody.
Yep,
I needed something that wasn't hopeful, that didn't just put a nice little Jesus bow on it.
Yeah.
I needed something bloody that could accompany me in my darkest moment. And so we wrote this book, and it is a raw look at questioning God, cursing God, longing for God to show up.
Yeah.
All of the above. And it saved our life.
Yeah.
And we've heard from people all around the world just thanking us because they have something that can accompany them. The only book I could read was Dr. Nicholas Wolterstorff's Lament for a Son. And it was written in the 80s about his son he lost in a climbing accident. And that was the only book that I could actually stomach that wasn't just filled with platitudes.
Right.
And I wanted something, so we created it. And so we just published it ourselves, and so glad we listened to God and just did it because it has accompanied so many people. And the film as well is just more shows kind of the journey through our community in Seattle, how they held us. And, we were just in our friend's home for a week, and we just all grieved collectively. And it had over 200 people at his funeral, and we buried him with our bare hands. And, it's just this really up close and personal look of what journey through grief, to honor grief, to be able to become human again looks like.
Just thinking of that you went to 29 Christian publishing companies and how they said we can't do this because it's real. And then thinking about your childhood and always being in church, but not allowed to be stumbling, not allowed to, to lament. And just how that comes together with the most important thing in your life as an adult.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then leaves me with no choice of I got to do this.
That's right.
I got to live. I gotta do this. I gotta obey. Just telling our story, especially me putting the film out there, me and my wife putting the film out there, help us feel less crazy.
Right.
Because now I don't have to bear that story alone. That other people can journey along with me without me having the emotional labor to continue to tell that story. You can just witness that story. Yeah. And so before COVID, my wife and I would travel a bunch and show this film to church communities, and the most amazing responses all over the United States of probably groups of 40 or whatever, or huge groups, but people are weeping. And then all of a sudden we're doing this group therapy session to these church communities, and everybody's popping up, telling about their losses, telling about their grief, telling about their stories of grief. And it's like, where in the church have we seen this invitation to step into our grief and collectively grieve without shame? And it's been a beautiful thing. And so COVID kind of stopped that, but hopefully we'll pick that back up when we're done with this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so necessary, and just the, because your son's name was, his middle name was Brave.
Yeah, so Jackson Brave Bauman, and yet we called him Brave, and so that was.
I love that, and so the name Brave Lament. What a beautiful way to honor him, and again, it goes to it's action, especially with you and your personality and who you are. Like, it's about the action. If it's not there, you're going to create it, and you did that so other people don't have to. Because we are called biblically to co-labor.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. We're called to co-love. And part of love is co-laboring with each other. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just so beautiful because none of us know at this age, because I think you and I are about 30. We're about there. Something like that. Yeah. All right. Whatever, y'all. Whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but by a certain age, someone who's lost a child that's been stillborn. You know someone who's lost a child at age 8 because of cancer. Right. Like, somebody.
Yes.
And where are the resources?
Exactly.
And you created a beautiful one. So thank you so much for that.
Yes. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So were you able to allow yourself to not work? Because again, for what you and I do for a living, we have to be in a place of connection when we walk in the room with the patient. Like, we have to be well.
Yes.
And so just how did you I'm just curious, how did you take care of yourself during that part of your life?
Yeah. That part of my life, thankfully I wasn't a practicing therapist. That would have been pretty dangerous.
Yeah, sure.
So luckily, as I've gotten older and my practice more established, I've been able to create different self-care. I am a tennis player and, try to exercise and hike and do fun stuff, hang out with our mutual friends, the Berries. We're going to Disney World in a couple weeks. So that'll be part of the self-care.
Yeah.
But we're trying to create that. My practice, I've changed my practice a lot. Basically, instead of just sitting with clients all day, I do phone consulting, and then I just do intensive work, which I enjoy doing, like 8 hours of therapy, much more than just kind of 45-minute sessions all day long.
Right.
So
right.
That's part of me changing my schedule so I can be well, so I can do more writing and more things that give me a lot of life. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So the intensive that you're doing, is that part of that because to sit with someone who's struggling with narcissism, 45 minutes, you're not going to get anywhere.
Sure. Yeah. It's part of, both, but basically my wife and I do couples intensives all weekend in North Carolina and Seattle. And then, I work with individuals as well for intensive weekends, and during the day. So, I just found it works better for my personality and probably for the men as well. I mean, again, slow, long work is probably the best, but I also realizing I might not have the bandwidth to do that anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's very much okay. Yeah.
I kind of like to just hit the home runs and leave. So.
Right. So for people that are listening, what type of person would, client-wise, patient-wise, would need to contact you if they're hearing something in this? Because I'm sure this is resonating with them. Who's the best to contact you?
Basically, issues of pornography and male sexuality. I work with a lot of that, and then narcissism goes in with that, obviously. And then my wife and I do a lot of couples work and abuse recovery and infidelity, recovery. So we've really just started to draw a lot of people who are recovering from infidelity and issues. So, our business is called the Christian Counseling Center for Sexual Health and Trauma. And so we deal with a lot of trauma. We do narrative-based work and also somatic body work. And so I've really been working on that for the last few years of incorporating body work into the trauma work that we do. And it's just been a beautiful thing. So
can you elaborate on that? Because when you first started talking about the 7-year-old boy, the 8-year-old little boy, and talking about, really it's true, trauma is held in your body. And so
exactly. And so I was trained in Allender methodology, and it's more a narrative story work approach, more classic talk therapy, and just realizing that wasn't enough for what I was coming into. And yet it was huge and very helpful. But I needed more tools in my toolbox. And so I went and trained in Oregon for a couple years and basically studied more somatic body work. And so this is, I remember this somatic group I was in working around the loss of my son. And I was on the ground. It was a men's somatic group, and I had 8 men holding me down as he was having me talk to my son. And as I was screaming and mourning, he was digging into my belly and feeling for trauma in different parts of my belly. And he was, digging, pushing deep into my belly and, stuff like that. Or I remember another somatic group, a woman is working through her story of rape. And, the therapist had me part of holding her down as she, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying.
Right.
Because she's reliving this most traumatic part and I could barely witness it. And yet I'll never be the same because I was able to witness her fighting back. I was able to witness her going into the story and yet creating a different ending.
That's right.
Where
That's
she begins to reclaim her power, not be powerless.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's part of the somatic work is we take back our power. So the men's groups that I run, we do a lot of wild stuff and break stuff and scream a lot and jump off things. And, we do a lot of body stuff, which is part of the healing work.
Yeah. It's really like you're a wonderful vessel helping people come alive, neck down. That the answer is not always in our head. Sometimes we have to understand things on some level, but there's so much trapped within. And so what happens for people just in general, just pay attention to yourself. Like if you're talking about something and you're saying everything's okay and your leg is bouncing up and down, your body's having a response. Like it's fighting. It has some reason why it's having movement in that moment. So it's very incongruent. Like we can say we're fine and we believe it, but our body has a different experience.
Exactly. Yep. I remember counseling a woman and we start going through her abuse narrative and, I'm just having her check in with her own body. And all of a sudden she says, my right calf hurts. And I was like, oh, geez, this is weird. Like it's not working.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, I'm just got to lean into it. So I'm like, okay, tell me about your right calf. And we start leaning in and focusing on her right calf. And then she sits with it for a while and she says, that's where he grabbed me.
Ooh, powerful.
And I'm just like, I doubted it, the process there in a second. And yet I was like, oh, the body keeps the score, right? The body remembers.
That's right. Great book.
The body remembers more than our mind. And so when we can give honor to the body, when we can let the body have space, tell them what's the story of your breasts? What's the story of your penis? What's the story of your inner thought? Whatever it is, your genitals, your back, every part of your body, let them have voice.
Yeah, that's right.
Let them speak because they have story to tell.
Right, that's right. And I have found, tell me if you agree with this, that people who stay really busy, not just work-wise, like just stay really busy at home, always having to do something, et cetera, that is because that there's some, it's unconscious, but there's some fear of actually going towards what the real pain is. And so we just stay busy.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those 4 trauma responses. Flight,
fawn, freeze.
Fawn, freeze. Fawn, that's the flight is when you just stay super busy and try to just ignore and run away.
Right, absolutely. And it's understandable why people do it. But I definitely learned through my alcoholism that I spent 14 years running from something that I could have talked about in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Right. I could at least put it on the table. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. It takes a lot more effort to stay sick than it does to stay well.
Yes, exactly. And that's what kind of mentioned earlier, like what we do to cope with our trauma is actually much more damaging than the trauma itself.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And at the same time, like people give yourself grace about that. You only do what you know to do in the moment.
Exactly.
Right? As we talked about, it's paradoxical. We do what we have to do to not feel the pain.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And we do what we learned to survive and what we're given.
Yeah.
And until we're trained, until we're coached, until we're parented into a different way of being, we don't really know we don't even have that imagination that it can be different.
That's right. And what he has for you, Ephesians 3:20-21, is more than you could imagine.
Yes.
Right. And the things that stop us are the things that really, it is a lot of childhood development, and it comes from the enemy. Because that's why I think people have so much shame around their needs, because once you start having your emotional needs met, then from that place, you will go out and add so much glory to the kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah, but we can't neglect ourselves and do that. Yeah, that's powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah. It sounds like that you are honestly a phenomenal, therapist, and your ability to just sit so still with people and let it be about them because you know who you are. It's just such a gift. Such a gift.
And as you are looking for your own therapist, folks out there, right? It's just like, it's so important for you to sit with someone who has done their own work.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I know many therapists, and that some of them can be the most dangerous folks out there if they haven't taken in their own life and done the hard work themselves.
Right. Right. That's right. You're looking for a therapist that's invested in your healing, not invested if you did the homework or not. Not invested if you did what they told you to do. Like, it's about them being invested in you without them making it about themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. And sadly, Andrew, it's hard to find.
It's true.
Yeah.
It very much is.
Yeah. It's another reason why I'm so glad that you're out there and that our audience is learning more about you. Okay, so I'm going to put you in the hot seat. This is a therapist hot seat. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and just whatever comes to mind first, just throw it out there.
All right.
All right, here we go. All right, first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word vulnerability.
Hope.
Hope. It's great. Favorite biblical verse?
Woo! Jesus wept.
Shortest and most powerful.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. What is on your nightstand?
Whew. My kid has been doing virtual school in my room, and he leaves all this half-eaten apples and weird, these drawings of Mario and Pokemon are all over my bedstand.
Well, that's great. Have you found being a parent that, like, there's just moments like you're just intentionally doing things so differently, like just celebrating that it's really okay. He can have, apples by your bed without you having to freak out on them, kind of thing.
Yes. Most of the time, I do a pretty good job, but yes,
Yeah,
only so many old Band-Aids I can handle. But.
Yeah. Right. All right. So, what surprises people the most about you?
Whew. I think I have a good balance between being incredibly crass and incredibly not maybe sacred or holy. Like I can go in and out of both of those realities. And for some reason, I'm quite comfortable with both of them.
Yeah, that's an 8 thing. That's a good thing.
Right.
What surprises you the most about you?
Oh man, sometimes I'm surprised that I'm still a Christian.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm surprised that I am still alive and that I'm happy after so much of my life. I think often, like, I'm really thankful that I'm still here.
Yeah, amen.
And being in North Carolina for this season of COVID, I've been confronted with a lot of my old story.
Wow.
And seeing a lot of my old places and kind of old shame narratives being there. And I'm just like, I think it gives me this pride, this really good, like, well done.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you're here too. I really am. Okay. Are you willing, when you go to Disney with the berries, are you willing to wear Gamecock paraphernalia?
How much will you pay me?
Oh, $200, whatever it takes to have you walk around the whole time with a Gamecock shirt on around Nicole Berry. I'm willing to pay for that.
I think she'd appreciate that a lot.
All right, last question for you. When you hear "flip your lid" from now on, what's that going to mean to you?
Whew. I mean, I'm going to think of you.
What better person to think of?
I'm going to take it away from Dr. Siegel and give it to you now.
That's right. I stole it from him. When I meet him, I'll thank him for.
That's right. It's yours.
Yeah, I'm all about it. All right. Well, this has been amazing. If our people want to contact you, they can definitely look at the notes below this podcast or with the YouTube.
Yes.
But can you just throw out there real quick your Instagram handle or anything else?
Find me, andrewjbauman.com. Also, you can follow me on my Facebook author page, is a pretty active community. And then you can follow on our business as well, christiancc.org.
Yeah.
christiancc.org or Andrew J. Bauman. I write a bunch of blogs and stuff you can follow there as well.
A lot of free stuff for y'all out there from what he's done. And check out his 5 books. And so, Andrew, thank you for being here. And to all of you that listen, thank you for being a part of Flip Your Lid. I feel sure that you heard something today that flipped your lid and allowed you to reconnect to who you really are.
Thank you for listening to Flip Your Lid with Kim Honeycutt. Please subscribe, rate, and share. You can find Kim on Facebook or Instagram at kbhoneycutt. To get an autographed copy of Kim's book, visit butyourmotherlovesyou.com. Remember, no matter what, treat yourself well today.